6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
The only thing you really know is what you can put into words.
The common language of science.
Every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam.
It's awe-inspiring stuff.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Conduct Science Podcast, where if you listen to the intro backwards you can hear Harambe crying for revenge. Really? No, but today we are talking about conspiracy theories. If you want to check out all the latest goings on, you can head to conductscience.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter by searching at Conduct Science. If you'd like to get in touch, suggest a guest, whatever it is, please use the hashtag Conduct Science. I am your host, Tom Jackson. Back again is Mitchell Gatting. How are you, mate?
I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate that intro.
Yeah.
that was funny.
As I say, it came from a inspiratory moment as I was getting my drink out the fridge. And,
nice.
That's all inspiration comes.
Yeah, from the fridge.
Sometimes the shower, but...
Mm-hmm.
But instead of doing some factoids to start off the show today, we thought we might just run through a couple of funny, or our favourite conspiracy theories, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to start off with one?
I didn't find any there are plenty of funny ones out there, but they're a bit too ridiculous. Like, Queen Elizabeth is actually a lizard person and wears a human skin suit when she goes out, but the lizard overlords are in charge of the monarchy and all that jazz.
Well, I mean, it makes perfect sense when you think about it, really.
Yeah, but when you really...
It explains why she hasn't died yet.
Yeah. So the conspiracy theories that I grabbed were things like... It was before our time, but you may have heard of it. All the listeners out there may have heard would have experienced when Coca-Cola, the actual brand, not just Coke, Coca-Cola released a new Coke.
Okay.
Is this new to you?
Yeah.
So I kind of knew about this because it's referenced heavily in Stranger Things season 2.
Right.
If anyone watches that, it's a great little series. But that's in the 80s, I think, the second one.
Yeah, that's set in the 80s.
Lucas, one of the four, he's one of the four main characters. He goes crazy to try and find it and just is always perpetually drinking it throughout the entire series. But the conspiracy theory was that Coca-Cola knew that it was going to be bad. They intentionally made it bad so that they could have this big, this is bad, but we're coming back now with the same thing we had before, and it's back to being good, to try and get people to drive up the demand for the original product.
Well, it seems to have worked well, because even in 2020, you can see it says original on it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the president of Coca-Cola at the time said, the truth is, we are not that dumb and we are not that smart. So they were like,
right,
if we had planned to do that, would have been a genius play by us, but we didn't think that far ahead. What it did spur, however, is I think a lot of companies these days will try and push negative things to see how far they can push it, and then be like, recount back on it and be like, oh, don't worry, we're going back. We're now like this.
Okay. That's a bit of an odd one. I mean, they must be banking on the fact that in the resurgence of the original product, they're going to make more profit than they lost in making a bad one.
Well, I don't know, because there would have been that initial buy-in of being like, oh, this is a new product, that hype that you see like nowadays when you have a good marketing campaign about something. So they would have that the initial products would have been high. Then when they saw that it was dipping off, they could have been like, right, now activate stage 2. We take it out.
Stage 2 of the marketing master plan.
Yeah, well, conspiracy theory master plan. We go.
Okay, I like it. No, I hadn't heard of that before though.
Okay.
Having seen season 2 of Stranger Things, which itself is based on a conspiracy theory set of experiments, I believe.
Yeah, that Russia had infiltrated and built bunkers in America.
Yeah, so fun. I had one, which is here in the UK. Did you know that Hull was the UK capital for UFO sightings?
Say Hull or Hull?
Hull.
I didn't know that.
So reports go all the way back to the late 1800s of mass public sightings of UFOs.
Okay.
And I mean, I found this quite interesting because you just got to ask yourself at that point, if aliens had mastered interstellar travel, right?
Yeah, right.
And they made the 100 of light year journey to come to Earth.
Yeah.
Why, in all things logical, would they come to Hull?
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, if I had travelled hundreds of light years and ended up in Hull, I might turn around too.
So what's the name of the probability of the aliens actually being here and meeting us, and the chance of it actually coinciding with us at the same time?
Is that the Drake equation?
Yeah. If they just like overcome the Drake equation for the infinitesimally small possibility that they had reached us and they were gonna like interact with us, and then they just went, you know what? Yeah, Hull seems nice. Let's go Hull.
Let's just sit. But I mean, why would they? Firstly, okay, come to Hull and only look at that place and leave. Or why not say anything? You know? Do you know what I mean? They turn up. They go, "Oh bloody hell! There's a bunch of apes up there looking at us." No, it's not worth it. Let's just turn around and go home. Mission failed, lads. I don't get it, to be honest. But it made me giggle. So yeah. Do you have another one?
I do, but this one, I when I was reading it, I was getting buy-in from it, and we'll talk about the like reasons for why I could possibly have a buy-in to this one.
Okay.
So most people nowadays have heard the term big pharma, as in the big pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
And it's the conspiracy theory that there are big pharmaceutical organizations that are withholding treatments for certain like issues like that could be solved.
Oh, okay.
And back in the day, if I didn't have a disposition to have a negative thought towards big pharmaceutical companies, I would have been like, nah, people wouldn't do that. Ethically, they would definitely not do that. But having like grown up and seen the trend in America of like this profit-driven situation where they're trying to maximize profits, if you look at like those big pharma companies as just, we need to get the most revenue, screw the ethics of it. And because if they did see it ethically, then what we talked about last week about the inhalers being $300 per inhaler, that wouldn't happen. But now that does happen, in the back of my head, I was like, yeah, these big companies, they ethically don't care about anybody else apart from making money. They definitely would withhold things if they thought that they could make more money in the future. Maybe.
So you're turning to a theorist live on air.
Yeah. So this is why I was like, I'm buying into this conspiracy theory, because to me, with how unethical these companies have shown to be, it's not that much of a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I think that's something, if that were to be true, is less of a conspiracy and more just out in the open.
I like the example of like if there was a full vaccine for AIDS, right?
Yeah.
So you take the injection or treatment over a period of months and it accuses you of having AIDS. Right. Why would they do that when they can draw out the costs that they gain from a single person for treatment for HIV, and then in the long run, everything that they need supporting that throughout their lives? It's like if you look at a subscription model to a single purchase model. Nowadays, especially in games and movies and videos like Netflix, you have I think it's called PaaS, so PaaS, so platform as a service.
Okay.
So you pay monthly for a platform and you get a service for it.
Yeah.
That is the most common payment structure at the moment that's used across the world, and it's to keep costs keep going so you don't like buy something legally wise. It means you also don't own things, which is a good thing for tech companies because there's like legal things going on there, like the right to repair, which I'm sure we'll cover later. But that is like the most common thing at the moment, and I can't see why drug companies wouldn't try and jump on that to maximize their revenue.
Well, I guess what you've got to hope, the thing is, if someone found out about that, right, and one of the things maybe we'll come on to later is just with conspiracy theories, one of the reasons why I think they're quite unlikely is the amount of people involved, right? Out of the amount of people involved, someone is going to blabber at some point.
Yeah. See,
statistically, right?
Right. So,
if that came out, the legal ramifications were going to be absolutely horrendous.
So do you remember Epstein? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to say what happened, but everybody knows what happened there. He somehow, suicided himself in a completely 24/7 marked cell.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
You got to assume in that kind of scenario, there's not that many people to blabber, right? But in big pharma, maybe more.
Yeah, but the people at the top, the people working like in the labs, wouldn't need to know. So that wouldn't be a case of like knowledge that could be leaked out because they're just doing their jobs and working on things.
Yeah, maybe
it'd be the top level that come together and be like, right, lock this down.
Perhaps. I have one more before we maybe deep dive into some.
Yeah.
Do you know Alfred Russel Wallace? He was the Welsh co-founder of the theory of natural selection with Darwin.
No.
Oh, well,
yeah. I don't. I'm gonna say I know about him. I know the name, but not like.
Yeah.
What his dog was called.
Well, I mean, anyway, he's now credited with being a co-founder of the theory of natural selection. But he was, at some point in his career, in 1870, right, he saw an advertisement in a newspaper of a flat earther offering £500 for someone to prove him that the earth wasn't flat.
Right.
So, being a scientist, he was like, I mean, that's a lot of money back then as well.
Oh, yeah,
He's like, right, okay, I can prove to this man that the earth is not flat. So he goes there and he performs the Bedford level experiment to prove that the earth isn't flat and accounts for refraction with the atmosphere and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy obviously was never convinced because I'm sure, as we'll come on to later, people who believe these things just will never be. So Wallace never got his money, but what he did get instead was a lot of death threat, and he ended up having to get the man arrested who was orchestrating the whole thing.
Yeah, because fraud. I like how times haven't changed.
Pretty much, yeah. We've gone from thinking the earth was flat to thinking it is round to we're going back the other way.
Yeah. And just, people, death threats is one of those things that I can't believe people do that.
Yeah, it's not, but I'm sure we talked about it quite a bit before in some other episodes when it comes to it. Is there a particular branch of conspiracy theories you'd like to head down first?
I split mine into non-harmful and harmful.
Okay, yeah.
Because I like to, when you're doing your research, you got to segment it. If you're doing a systematic literature review, just got to step 2 and 3 into non-harmful and harmful, because there are some, like the Queen Elizabeth is a lizard person, that obviously isn't harmful, isn't going to affect anybody. But then there's harmful conspiracy theories that are out there that have a direct effect on human life and have caused deaths.
Yeah.
So things like anti-vaxxers, or it's called vaccine hesitancy.
Right.
Is the official term for those people that are obviously, as I said, hesitant to get vaccines.
Hesitant were the people who were more. So if you think anti-vaxxers are a spectrum, right?
Right. Yeah.
On the, say, at 0 you have people willing to take vaccines, at 1 people who are fully anti-vax. I thought vaccine hesitancy were more people around like the middle.
Possibly.
But I may be wrong.
Yeah, there's so in vaccine hesitancies there's different sub conspiracy theories. That it's not just anti-vaxxation. There's anti-fluoridization, or the anti-fluoridization fluoridization movement.
Right.
And that regards the fluoridization of public water supplies.
Okay. Yeah, let's not disinfect our water.
Yeah. So it's the people that they're putting nanobots in our water through the fluoridization. It's like controlling your mind, man. It's controlling your mind.
Funny you should mention that. My girlfriend told me this morning there's a very new anti-vax movement came out in the past couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah?
Because Bill Gates wants to fund the COVID-19 vaccination.
Yeah.
Right. They all think that he wants to plant chips inside everyone so he can control them or send them information and stuff.
Yeah, I saw this. I think there's also 5G tacked onto that one as well. They're just trying to cram all the latest things that are in the news into one conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, with anti-vax, I said we have talked about it a bit before, but this stems obviously, I think most people know now, from the Andy Wakefield paper in the Lancet.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find quite funny about it when I was doing a bit of research on this is here in the UK, the trouble vaccine is the MMR vaccine, the measles, mumps and rubella.
Yep.
But in other places in Europe, it's completely different vaccines. So depending on the region of the world, they will be fine with the vaccine that people are struggling with here.
Right.
But they will hate another one. And depending which
okay.
country you're in, it's a completely different one each time. So it's
Right.
quite funny how, if this were to be true, you'd expect the same vaccine to be causing the same issue everywhere.
Yeah, it would be like a global sort of agreement, and be like, this is bad because we've got evidence this is bad, not just that government's only messing with MMR and this government's only MMR, sorry, and this other government's messing with the HIV drugs.
Yeah. So I think in America and the UK, it's the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine that everyone kind of goes for. But in Belgium, they're fine with that one. That's a great vaccine to get. But you best not be getting the yellow fever one. That's what'll get you. It just doesn't really line up for me how that works. And yeah, I think you read a few papers, and I don't think there is a single, as far as I have seen or tried to find, paper in a reasonably respectable journal of any caliber that describes vaccines as being bad.
Yeah. No. But
So, yeah. But later we will come on to why people might fall into these kind of things.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the 5G. Because I didn't realize that this was a thing until I was looking at it over the past few days for some research, and I thought it was just going to be 5G towers are going up, so it's just going to be the normal people telling us to get our tinfoil hats on. Well, I say normal, I meant normal conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, the regular atypical conspiracy theorists.
Exactly. So I thought they were just going to be like, they're just trying to control your mind, put your tinfoil hats on, we'll be fine. I didn't realize how far it had gone in terms of people now think 5G towers are spreading COVID-19.
Yeah. Well, see, when I was looking at this, I was just like, how are they thinking that waves, like low frequency waves are like sending COVID-19 into your body, which has now been proven scientifically to only be able to be like water droplets to be able to pass it.
It's the radio waves, man.
Which is, when you think about it, if you're that deep into your conspiracy theory at that point, if you're mentally that deep, you have to be regarding so many different sources of information and scientific research to just be like, yeah, no, it's not that, it's not from that. All these different things, you just combine it. Oh, yeah.
I was interested to see where this actually had come from as well, and it's not too dissimilar to the whole anti-vax scenario. So on this only began on the 22nd of January in a Belgian newspaper, and I'm sorry for ruining the name, called Het Laat Stay News. Yeah, I butchered that, so I apologize. Basically, they published an interview with a general practitioner called Chris van Kerkhoven, and it was titled 5G is life-threatening and no one knows it.
Oh, God damn it, Chris.
So that was the first kind of mistake. But in the actual interview, the journalist had mentioned how since 2019, 5G towers had been built in Wuhan. And he was like, do you think these could be linked? And the response is, and I quote, "I have not done a fact check, but it may link with current events." So he actually said, I have not done a fact check, and thus set himself up for his own opinion. And as a general practitioner, I don't know how you have that opinion. But boom, now we have thousands of people around the world thinking 5G is responsible for COVID. And
the most reasonable argument that I found that the whole 5G causes it is that the 5G low frequency waves, they reduce your immune system, so it makes you more susceptible to COVID-19. Which, if I had no idea about frequencies and waves and the technology behind it, I could be like, oh, that does sound like it could happen.
Yeah, okay, I could get you if you were fairly naive on the subject, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And someone was convinced enough and they were like telling you, you'd be like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how bad this has got. I was like, okay, this is a conspiracy theory, but maybe it's contained. But I think this actually forms under the harmful type of conspiracy theory, because at the minute, even in the last couple of weeks, right, that mobile phone towers and people who work to maintain them are being attacked here in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And one broadband worker was spat in the face by one of these conspiracy theorists and has since fallen ill with suspected COVID.
Surely you could trial someone, like you could take them to court for attempted murder.
I mean, I think we spoke about it last week or the week before, wasn't it? The people who were doing that in shops were getting arrested for terrorism.
Yeah. So surely that person could be done for like GBH or assault. Probably assault, probably not. Well, I agree. That depends how bad they get.
I mean, but what is the need?
Yeah.
The
things that I read was, if you didn't know, arsony is on the up.
Yeah.
Because all these new towers that are being built, isn't that man he wasn't actually working on the tower itself. He was working on a junction box.
Yeah,
in his
just
street.
A broadband worker.
Yeah,
and so this person was like, "Oh, it must be connected to 5G. I'm going to come and spit in your face."
The Open Reach vans come through and they open the door and they're sat there like moving someone over, like switching like Virgin to BT or whatever they do in the little junction boxes. It's one of those people, and she's been like, 5G. But the people that are actually building the towers, they're facing like assault charges against them because people have been assaulting them as they're trying to build it. Where it be like verbal abuse or actual assault. But there's a whole bunch of examples of these towers being burnt down by the public.
Yeah, it's insane. I saw a few graphs of just over the last 2 weeks of the arson rate in the UK, and it's staggering. Really?
Like if you came to me and said your argument against 5G towers was the technology involved and who was supplying it due to cyber security concerns, I would be like, okay, yeah, let's have a chat.
Yeah,
because there's always those concerns of who's funding it and do they have access and all that malark. Looking at you,
malarkey.
Certain countries around the world, but yeah, just okay. So do you want me to give you the explanation of why it can't cause anything internal?
Yeah.
I found a proper breakdown. So for the spectrum of waves, at one end you have high frequency waves. That's your X-ray that when you go to the hospital and they need to see like broken bones, that's what they fire at you, is a high frequency wave.
Yeah.
They are known as ionizing or ionized waves, meaning they can cause internal damage to our bodies if the exposure is too great, because they can not pierce the skin, but they can pass through the skin, which, like X-rays, they can penetrate the body and can be used for medical imaging. So your exposure has to be limited in those situations, which we all know there's like protections now, and for the nurses and doctors involved, they get a screen to protect them if they're working in those environments. So 5G is a band of low frequency waves, just like Wi-Fi, that is known as non-ionizing.
Well, I don't know about you, mate, but I walk around my house in like a suit to protect me from Wi-Fi, so you know. Yeah.
Also, there is an overwhelming weight of scientific evidence that has shown that non-ionizing radiation does not and cannot cause internal damage to our cells. So when the people are like, they're holding their phones up to their head and being like, oh, if you're on the phone for too long and you got your Wi-Fi on, it's going to burn your brain out. No, it's not. That's not going to happen. Yeah. So if you look at the science, there's no way that 5G can have caused this pandemic or spread it further. So have you seen the Catherine Tate bit where she's playing the schoolgirl about the whole, and they're like doing the Zoom call with the teacher?
No, I haven't.
It's David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and then she's got the mask on. And that perfectly summarized what I would imagine a conspiracy theorist being like, and being like, she's like, David Tennant like, so why are you wearing the mask? And she's like, oh, computer virus is in it. And I was just like, yeah, that sums it up, to be honest. People just being like, yeah, computer virus. Yeah, it passed through the computer virus, get it? I was just like, oh dear.
You disinfect your computer, just wiping it down with some Febreze spray.
Yeah,
You
just
know.
run Malwarebytes to make sure you don't have the COVID-19 virus on your PC.
Yeah, deadly. Well, yeah, well, I think that's what one of the things we'll also come on to is, if people are willing to believe something and you challenge that, it's not always going to work, and they're going to be stuck in their belief system in that sense.
Yeah.
I have another one to move on to, unless you have one here.
No?
So this is something I mentioned last week, briefly, and it's how the world ended in 2012.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right, so this is a massive rabbit hole, a huge one, and I'm not convinced, but I did spend longer than I'd like to admit looking this up.
Right.
But for research purposes, of course.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right, so there's not too much information on this actually around, but obviously because the government is taking it down and doesn't want you to find out.
Mm-hmm, yes.
But there is a Twitter thread by one Nick Hinton who explains it, and I'll break this down for you. So he starts his thread by saying he wanted to go back and look at this theory for fun, of course,
Okay.
as we all do on our Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
But where he gone to look for the information that he used to think was there, he couldn't find it anywhere. And it's really a struggle for him, because now he has to really piece this puzzle together with little chunks of it. And so this is the theory, and let's just suspend our disbelief for a minute. Let's believe we are Nick. So in 2012, CERN discovered the Higgs boson particle, which Stephen Hawking said with his own words could create a black hole and destroy the universe. Well, what if, I said let's suspend our disbelief here, we are Nick.
Yeah.
What if we did destroy the universe? Would we even be aware of it? Maybe CERN created a black hole that is sucking us in without us even noticing.
Right.
And we are just living inside of it like some physicists think might be possible.
Oh, the projection theory. They were all on the holograms.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He then goes on to say there is an old cliche argument that nothing has felt right since 2012. I mean, this is the first I'd heard of it, but remember, we're suspending our disbelief.
Yeah.
It seems that the world is descending into chaos and time is moving faster since then.
Right.
He does, say, oh, maybe this could just be to do with getting older. Well done, Nick. You are thinking. But Nick thinks we live in a series of simulations, and that our universe was destroyed in 2012 by CERN, and our collective consciousness was moved into a parallel universe next door that is almost identical.
Okay.
And he has proof.
He has proof.
has proof.
I'm ready. Lay it down for me.
There are people reporting small differences in this reality and the one that they remember before 2012.
Okay.
This is what you said last week. You mentioned that there was a name for a shared false memory.
Oh, yeah.
And it's called the Mandela effect.
Yes. That was what it's called.
And there is a great film that came out last year on with the same title, actually. So I would recommend watching that. But the Mandela effect was basically, many people thought Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s. But he actually passed in 2013. I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And
free Nelson Mandela.
And lots of people were shocked to find out that he wasn't already dead. So it became known as the Mandela effect.
Okay.
Now here are some of the differences, and I want you to see how many of these you might agree with.
Okay.
So how would you spell Febreze? As in like the washing agent.
Well, I'm not great at spelling to start off with, so I would probably go for phonetically. So Fabreeze.
Okay, so lots of people before 2012 seem to remember it was spelled Febreeze. Whereas now, it's only spelled Febreze. There's not the double E anymore. A similar thing has happened with Skechers, the shoe company.
Yeah.
People used to think it was spelled with Sketcher.
Yeah.
And now there's no T, it's just Skeccher.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, there was a Looney Tunes. Lots of people thought, but it's actually Looney Tunes. And JCPenney has suddenly got an extra E in it. And if I were to ask you what island the Statue of Liberty was on, what would you say?
I actually don't know the island, to be honest.
So this is one that I actually thought was on Ellis Island.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will have that theory. They think it's on Ellis Island, but it's actually on Liberty Island, which of course makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But he is so convinced that this was a real piece of evidence because he's looked at some old paintings of the Statue of Liberty and they are seemingly on the wrong island. And you can go to Google Street View and there seems to be images where the statue is just totally missing. But he does admit the person uploading these photos is one Auguste Bartholdi, who designed the Statue of Liberty from the 1800s. And it has a picture of him, obviously in black and white, because it was a painting, but he's verified, so he believes him.
Okay.
Just before the US entered World War I, Germans committed the first act of terrorism on US soil, but he'd never heard of it in school, so, it must be a conspiracy.
Right, yeah.
And since that attack meant that the torch of the Statue of Liberty wasn't open to the public anymore, and hasn't been since. So he says. But people remember going inside and having pictures up there, and they've even left reviews on TripAdvisor. But his last piece of evidence that really is, the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
On 4chan.
Right.
And if anyone knows who 4chan is,
oh, the hacker. 4chan.
You'll know. The website. Right?
Yeah.
If you don't know what 4chan is, then probably keep it that way. But someone claimed to be a scientist from CERN and said that they had destroyed the world in 2012. And we actually live in like a Russian doll simulation like system of nested simulations.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, what do you think, mate? I've presented you with all the unquestionable evidence from inside Nick's mind.
I was going to add to your list of things that could the Mandela effects that people could be shocked at. So there's on this list, there's things like the Looney Tunes sketches. So for our American listeners, and there's a lot of the big percentage of you out there, Fruit Loops. Have you ever heard that?
A cereal, right?
Yeah. It's not actually fruit. It's fruit. F-R-O-O-T. And I like, as like referencing like, it's like movies and things. And they always, I swear down, they always go, Fruit Loops.
Yeah. I've never not heard it said with the word fruit specifically.
Yeah. In the Queen song, We Are the Champions. We are the champions.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that it ends with of the world. It's not actually in the song. It never exists or existed.
What do you mean?
So we are the champions of the
world. At the end he goes, of the world.
He doesn't. He definitely doesn't. Let me get this up. I'm gonna, unless it's like in the remastered version.
It's like the very last thing he sings, no?
I'm currently listening to it. No. He just says, you are the losers and we are the champions. Then it finishes.
Play it through your mic.
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second. I'll change the routing. So we're currently at 2 minutes and 46 seconds in.
Of the world. Where is it?
Yeah, mate, doesn't exist.
Right. That's it, guys. The world was destroyed in 2012 and we are living in an alternate reality. Well, you proved it here. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one that's got me, yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. When I read it, I was like, nah, I definitely remember it being like, we are the champions of the world.
Yeah. My existence is a lie.
It's just everything. It's just
everything is a lie.
Everything is just a lie. If you want more of these, you can head to reddit.com/r/Mandela effect. There's a whole big thing. The one that got me was Pikachu. Apparently,
right.
If you think back in the day, Pikachu, if everyone knows anyone's Pokemon, had a black bit on his tail.
Yeah.
And everyone remembers the old Pikachu having a black like line on the tail. But anybody that's new to Pokemon these days knows that there's like I'm pretty sure there's 2 brown marks on the tail. Or on the end of the tail.
I seem to remember Raichu having brown marks. But Pikachu having black.
No. Yeah, no. Not at all. Black tips on the ears and then a brown bit at the base of the tail. And everyone's just like, no.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure to put that link on the page as well, so be sure to check that out. You can follow the link straight there.
There's things like Cheez-Its.
Right.
The Ford logo.
What about it?
So, Cheez-Its, but apparently it's Cheez-It, singular.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to say, do you want some Cheez-Its? You know?
Yeah, but apparently it was remembered that there was a Z at the end specifically.
That's an American product. I don't.
Yeah.
I've never had a Cheez-It.
But there's many that you can go and have a look at, and just if you want to.
I will peruse through that later and
go down an absolute rabbit's warren of.
Yeah. Okay. I'll also link to the Nick Hinton thread as well, if any, because it does go on a bit about Buddhism aspect of multiple dimension theory. I didn't think that was too relevant to the end of the world.
Oh,
but
you just reminded me about the nested simulations. Popular culture in Destiny, the video game, Destiny 2, there's something called the Ishtar Collective, and their whole thing is simulating perfectly what like humans could do. So then they keep simulating themselves and they keep failing to the point where they simulate perfectly themselves in a room, and then their simulation realizes that they're simulating a simulation and it goes down. And that's what makes them realize is there's like an alien species that is currently got them locked in a simulation themselves.
Oh, okay.
It's one like a good read. It's called the Ishtar Collectives, and it's like a whole book about the sort of the simulations and what could happen. Because the idea behind it is they realize that if you could perfectly simulate a world in that state, you would unlock the ability to be able to modify your own worlds, because if you could simulate it, then you can make it happen in real life.
Yeah. That's assuming, though, right, that, for example, let's say we are not in a simulation, but we create a simulation of a world.
Yeah.
But
the argument is, for that simulation to be perfect, though, it would have to abide by the same exact laws of physics and all that jazz.
But you could program that, right?
Yeah, but then that's not a perfect simulation. That's just it's like saying that like some if loops is a perfect simulation if you can get it to like press a button.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway,
coming
back off that tangent and that topic, back to conspiracy theories.
Yeah, go for it.
I wanted to talk a bit about go back to the whole anti-vaxxer thing.
Yes.
And a subject that I covered during university, which is it was to do with not cyber hate and censoring things online.
Okay.
And one of the topics that we were given was a article from thewired.com, and it's called "When Algorithms Think You Want to Die." And the whole point of it is it's like a bleak look at algorithms that social media uses to give you what you want to see. So, for example, like Instagram, if you look at hashtags, it feeds into their ultimate algorithm, then feeds you related things. And the whole article is about a girl, a 14-year-old, who took her own life because the algorithms, she started looking at them and they just fed her more of like negative images, and the argument was that inevitably led to her death. That same argument can be used for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Facebook being the worst, I think, in my opinion, of creating these echo chambers that are perpetuated by these algorithms that just feed you what you're searching for. So if you're into conspiracy theories, one isn't into conspiracy theories. If you are searching for the truth,
yeah, Mitchell, we need to stick to the script here that our overlords have given us.
Yeah, sorry, overlords. When when people are looking for the truth, they tend to search for specific names, title, segments of words, and then what these social media algorithms do is take those words, put into your profile, and then will feed you more of what you search for. And if you're only searching for those things, it creates this bubble of an echo chamber where you will only get shown things that are relevant to that. So that's all you can search for. And one of the things that is terrible for this is your Google search, if you didn't realize.
Yeah.
Everybody has this idea that Google, when you search for something in Google, you see the same as everybody else, and it shows you what is the top search for that thing that you search for, which is incorrect. It shows you a predetermined list of things that it is decided that is relevant to for you to search that thing.
Yeah.
So if you search for news, it'll populate with answers that it thinks that you will more likely to click on because it needs the click-throughs because it's based on advertisements, and then it's that whole system that goes round.
Yeah. I think you can opt out of doing the whole analytics thing, right?
For that sort of stuff, no.
Okay.
You would have to either run it in incognito or do a GDPR delete all my data request from Google, which is intrinsically difficult from a cyber point, because the way that they've made their platform is that if you decide to delete, if you tell them to delete, like anybody can in the UK or in Europe, we're protected by GDPR now, if you request your data to be deleted from Google, you lose Gmail, you lose your YouTube account, because it's all linked, because they have like a one profile that goes for everything. So anything that you've used to log in, so say there's the website like Uber Eats, you can log in via your Gmail, you lose those accounts, you just get wiped across the board. So they've made it intentionally difficult to remove yourself from the platform.
Right.
But that's how they get so much information about you and deliver those things. So it's these sort of bubbles and these nets that you get sucked into that will perpetuate these conspiracy theories because it's all yet seen.
Yeah.
Since then, Twitter and Instagram have made steps through changing there's some certain hashtags that you can block now, and they've changed their algorithm so it doesn't do that as much. But yes.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, because it seems like in a more informed world, the way we are connected and information is freely accessible mostly, or you can find ways to make it freely accessible, that conspiracy theories are maybe on the rise. Mm-hmm. And I think, as you say, if I'm going to Google that 9/11 was an inside job, right, then I am going to find information that tells me it was. And I'm going to be like, oh my God, it's all here. Why isn't anyone else looking at this, Yeah. But that's like going to the fridge and looking for butter, opening it and finding butter, It's like, well, yeah, but you haven't considered the orange juice or the milk, Like, as you say, you end up in this complete little echo chamber of butter.
And it's also in a information age where fake news and misinformation campaigns are so prevalent because it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
It dilutes that pool of accurate knowledge because it's hard to determine what's right or not. So I can see why conspiracy theories are also rising due to that. Yeah,
I think social media is one of the worst perpetuators of the problem, because it's like, okay, if I had said 30 years ago to you that the government, there's one branch of conspiracy theorists where people think they are what's called targeted individuals,
mm-hmm.
where they are being followed by the government, targeted specifically, and maybe they're going to be killed. So if I'd said to you 30 years ago that I'm a targeted individual, you would have looked at me like, you're loony. Probably because I would have been. But now, if I go on Facebook, right, I can find Facebook groups of other people who think they're targeted individuals. And we can contain our conversation inside that Facebook group and say, oh, we'll only speak to each other, You're finding other like-minded people and perpetuating this circle of belief almost.
Yeah. There's also laws that currently protect the companies that are hosting this kind of material, which some people say it's good and some people say it's bad. I still haven't decided. It's one of the few things that... So it's designed to protect internet speech, and it's called the Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act.
Right.
And the whole gist of it is the company hosting or providing like a platform can't bear the responsibility of what people have said on that platform of what they've hosted. So a big thing about this was so Mega Uploads back in the day, hosted by Kim.com. He was illegally extradited from New Zealand to America under the basis of that his servers were hosting copyrighted materials.
Right.
But his whole position of it was the way that he set it up is he didn't know what people were hosting because that's a breach of privacy laws. And that obviously that protected him. But the counter argument is it means that these companies like Twitter or Instagram there's no ramifications on them if their platform is used in a malicious way.
Right. Yeah, it's a difficult one because I know after the whole Cambridge Analytica stuff, the view on how or whether that should be a thing is changing slightly, right? Because you can't stop free speech. Everyone's got to be able to say what they want. But at the same time, do they have a duty to protect people from misinformation?
Yeah. Remember, free speech doesn't include things like discrimination and all that jazz that a lot of people forget when they say, I have a right to my opinion. It's like, yes, but if it involves discrimination or hurtful comments, no.
Yeah, no, those people are just bigots. It comes down to nothing more than that. If you think that you have the right to have that type of speech against anyone in the world, then you just shouldn't be on such platforms.
Yep. But to bring this back round before we run out of time like we usually do, let's quickly go through the reasons. So we've spoken about some examples and what perpetuates and causes it, but let's have a look at some of the reasons. Did you find anything? Because I found 3.
Yes, I think in that case, I think I probably found the same 3. So in 2017, Karen Douglas and her team tried to answer this question, and they've since received pretty much international recognition for it.
Yes, this is the same paper that I referenced in my work as well.
There we go. And so they were looking into why people might actually believe conspiracy theories, and found it forms into 3 groups, which is the desire for understanding and certainty, the desire for control and security, and the desire to maintain a positive self-image. Do you want to break one of those down? Yeah, so the terms that she used, Douglas et al. Used, was in that order was epistemic. I can't say it, mate. Epistemic. Epistemic is the first one, which is relating to knowledge or the degree of validation. The second one is existential, and the third one is social. Okay. So epistemic. Did I get that right? Sure. I don't know if you want to speak. It relates to the property of conspiracy theories that they are going to protect their cherished beliefs. It's pretty much what I got by casting overwhelming disconfirmatory evidence as the product of the conspiracy. Right. Have I got that right? Yeah, I think so. And this was the understanding one, was it? The need for understanding and consistency. Yeah. So the what I took from that was it's more like, because obviously trying to understand things is a basic human thing. Yeah. We want that. I think we are fairly unique in the fact that, and I do this subconsciously all the time. If I find something out, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I go to tell someone. This isn't something people always recognize, but once I had read that, I was like, oh yeah, I do that quite a lot. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm sure you ask yourself more often than why you decided to embark on this adventure with me. But here we are. So conspiracy theories are by definition what we call false beliefs, something that we believe to be true but actually isn't. Mm. And I don't know I can't remember if she used this example in the paper itself or I read it in an article about the paper. But a lot of people fall into the false belief that Sydney is the capital of Australia. But when you are proven...
Isn't it Melbourne?
It's not. It's actually Canberra. Right?
Right.
You go, okay, you change your mind because you're not invested in that belief.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But with conspiracy theories, you have a vested interest, whether it's subconscious or conscious, in maintaining them.
Mm-hmm.
And theories normally fly up around things that people are uncertain about. And having that certainty and feeling like you understand something, and you're putting in energy to try and understand something, right? Time, effort, energy.
Yeah.
And then you come to some kind of certainty about this newfound understanding you have. So if someone comes along and is like, no, you're wrong, you kind of put up a wall and you're like, no, look, I've done all of this, so why am I wrong, you know?
Yeah, I think also in that this first reason, like the example that you used is climate change is not a serious concern. They are using it as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Just because if they acknowledge that climate change is a serious concern, they have to accept the responsibility that they need to change their ways, and they don't want to do that. So they're just like, yeah, no, climate change is a conspiracy theory. It's in itself, and we're not going to acknowledge it.
Yeah. It's a strange one. I know some people in some literature do equate the belief of conspiracy theories, to belief in faith and religion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not that it's the same, because if you believe in God or gods, depending on your religion, it doesn't really change your impact or your view on the world, right? You still have normal conversations with people and everything goes fine. But if you believe that 9/11 was an inside job, everything about your world around you changes because you are believing the government are dishonest, and that leads on to other things and all of yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is some kind of connection maybe between, I think, just how belief works in people. And once you have a vested interest in keeping something maintained, it can be very hard to break someone away from that.
Mm-hmm. The next pillar, as I'm calling them, of conspiracy theory reasons was a need for control.
Yeah.
Which is existential powers. Which this accounts for the motivation behind conspiracy beliefs. Studies showing that people are likely to turn to them when they are anxious or they feel powerless.
Yeah, I think a good example of this might be if you're uncertain about things or you don't feel in control. You for example, you might feel safer as the driver of a car rather than a passenger, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you are in control of the knowledge or what's going to happen, you feel a bit more safer about your life than if you're not. Yeah,
it's like if you use like the alien abductions conspiracy theory, like when people like something happened on that night, but I don't know what it is. And it could have been something bad, so I'm going to contribute that to, because they're anxious and powerless about and the knowledge of it, so they're going to contribute that to being like, oh, there's aliens.
Yeah, and like for global warming, the example you brought up for the last one as well, mm-hmm. If it is real, we better do something about it and quick. But it means I'm going to have to make some changes to my lifestyle now. Yeah. But if there's some politician telling me it's all a hoax and I don't need to worry, then I'm going to listen to that.
Yep. And then
because it's easier,
yeah. And then the third one is more of I don't want to say that it's like it's sad, and not in terms of like calling someone sad, but like an actual like sadness of a need to belong or feel special. Yeah. So this is the group of people that are like isolated and want to be part of a group. So they decide to jump into the group, and then that's what they believe. And I feel like a lot of flat earthers, that's where that came from.
Yeah, maybe.
It was like it started as a group of like needing to belong and socialize, and then it expanded to be a bit more global than they wanted it to be.
That's the thing, right? You got to ask yourself, why is that the popular one? But I guess it could just be like it was just the one that happened to be riding the wave at the time, you know? Mm-hmm. And it was something for people, as you say, who feel marginalized to hop onto.
Yeah, a funny story about flat earthing. One of my uni mates was wearing a flat Earth t-shirt as a joke, because it was at that point where everyone was like using it as a joke and a meme, and he bought like a proper flat Earth t-shirt and he was wearing it around campus, and we were in the student shop, and a woman came up to him and straight pan said, "Oh, that's an incredible t-shirt. Where can I get it? Do you also believe in flat earthing?" And the four of us had to contain our absolute laughter, because it was just I never experienced these people in real life, and there was this person in front of me that was just like, so like, you could see it in her eyes, that was just like, this is my belief.
There's another one.
Yeah,
I think, as humans, we all get a good feeling and a sense of belonging when we know we are helping people around us, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's at school or our jobs or in relationships with partners, family, or friends. But for people who don't have some of these things, like they have lots of spare time to go onto the internet maybe and sit in Facebook groups with other people where they might feel like they belong, and they hold similar ideas, and as we said, they perpetuate their own truths. But these people then think that they are helping the people around them because that they have knowledge that the people around them don't have access to.
Yeah.
And they feel like they are helping and belonging, and that they have a sense of pride because they have this privileged knowledge. So when you try and challenge someone, it's very much they become very defensive. And I think one of the we'll come on to how to challenge these people in a minute, but I think that as the third pillar, it's one of the hardest ones to overcome.
Yeah, because it's not just like you believe in it, it then becomes a part of that person. Like it becomes like part of their identity is this.
Yeah, exactly. I think the other bit that I lost my track of thought on the faith thing was with faith. You know what's in front of you and real. You can be a scientist and someone who believes in a religion as well, right? You have the facts in front of you, but also you believe in religion. So you have this faith that can kind of explain things that you're still unsure of in yourself, or explain why things where they are, and that's just how faith works. And I think for some people that's how it operates similarly in conspiracy theories. But yeah, how would you go about maybe combating conspiracy theorists?
I got on the the Google Scholar and the Scopus. For those that don't know, Scopus is a search engine for research papers that I've used throughout my uni experience, and I found the way that I gauge it is if it's cited a lot, because you can search and you can prioritize by citing that, and if you used it a lot, then it gives it more. So I found this paper that was I'm sure there's a proper name for it, but it's a paper that was a group effort,
collaborative
endeavor by the
high impact factor.
Yep, by the University of Westminster in London, the University of Vienna in Vienna, and the University of Konstanz in Germany. All departments of psychology that came together to write this, and it's How to Reduce Conspiracy Theories was the paper that they wrote.
Well, mate, it's a conspiracy theory in itself, isn't it?
Well, you could say that the overlords are pumping these things out. And they write the intro is they include reasons why conspiracies come around. They say it's associated with a range of negative health, civic and social outcomes, and requiring a reliable method to reduce such beliefs is what they try to achieve here. And the way that they went about testing it, and they carried out 4 studies across all 3 of the different countries. And they managed to prove that with greater analytical thinking, you reduce the believability of those people with conspiracy theories. So there's a direct link between analytical thinking and conspiracy theories. Yeah.
I saw Karen Douglas she'd also done a few experiments in Australia where she is. And, I think a lot of the literature suggests that education, as you were saying, critical thinking has a role to play, but there's so many different factors that can influence maybe why people believe certain things or are led to believe certain things that it's hard to pin it down on one thing, because generally level of education, as you're suggesting with analytical thinking, might be is correlated directly to if people are likely to turn to conspiracy theories or not.
Yeah.
But interestingly, the anti-vax movement is very much a middle class conspiracy theory, right? These are people that do have education, and the strange trend is the higher educated people actually would become anti-vax. And these are the people that are perpetuating the theory itself on social media.
Yeah. Which
is kind of I guess an outlier in terms of this whole thing.
Yeah.
So demographic also plays a massive role.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that they looked at was kind of ironic in this sense is if you take someone who is for example, let's say a pure anti-vax, they are like 100% on the spectrum. They're never going to let you stick tiny robots in their arms at any point in their lives.
Yep.
Right. And you give them information telling them why it's wrong, and you try and prove it to them. Just like with Alfred Russel Wallace and the flat earther, you will never change their mind. They are stuck there. They are gone. They are too far gone for you to help.
Mm-hmm.
But if you approach the more hesitant people, the people who might go one way or another because they're being misguided in both directions about what's right and wrong,
mm-hmm.
those are the people that you're more likely to be able to influence.
Okay.
And they saw, okay, so I've got an anti-vax person. I give them information. They're not going to change their mind. But if I get to someone and I give them the right information, and then afterwards they are exposed to the conspiracy theory, they are much less likely to hop on board with it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, they are vaccinating against conspiracy theories in a knowledge sense.
Yeah.
So I think it's just about educating people, and I mean, it's obviously not the only thing, as we were saying. It depends on demographic as well, and lots of other factors. But it's about trying to get the right information out there. But then the problem becomes, how do people distinguish between what's right and wrong if they are in the hesitant spectrum? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's catching those people before they're led down the path of the Sith.
Yeah, because I mean, Karen's over here down the road telling me that her crystals are doing amazing work.
Those essential oils that were used to try and save those children. Don't get me started.
Okay, I'll try. No trigger warning this week.
Yeah,
but yeah. So it's I think
to summarize
with information, right? to summarize. If you guys are convinced that the end of the world happened, then
oh dear.
I don't know, it's hard because I think we are in an age of information, but an age of misinformation.
Yeah.
And I don't, because I seem to remember this starting. I seem to remember being aware of this misinformation thing starting, or I don't know if that was me just growing up and then realizing, because when you're younger, you're like, oh, but it's the news. It's not going to be wrong.
Yeah, then like if you're growing up back in our day or now, when you see the BBC News, you go, yes, this is stone cold the truth. There's no bias here. This is the BBC. And then you grow up and you realise that obviously the BBC's got an agenda. Everybody's got an agenda. Every company's owned by someone that's pushing their agenda. So deep down, But the issue I think that we have as like a species is we're moving to an age of information, and we have the technology to push through it and get us to that next level, but we're lacking, or we're slow to pull up the laws to protect us. And because there's no things in place to protect us or to stop the bad things from bad people doing the bad things, that we're currently lagging behind. And because we're currently lagging behind, people that are doing these misinformation campaigns have current free reign, and there's not much repercussions for them. Yeah,
no, you're completely right. I think that's just the tech industry has progressed so fast that people, for the longest time didn't even think laws would be necessary until now, where it's so integrated into our society.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is built up, and we're kind of having to work backwards in a sense before we can progress forwards, because we need to tie up all the loose ends that are already being exploited.
Right. Well, that was been our conspiracy theory episode. We went off on many tangents. If you got through to this level and this late in the game, congratulations. Appreciate you for sticking rounds.
But yeah, no, also you know, we've got many exciting things in the pipeline.
Yes, we do.
Ready to come on up in the show. So make sure you guys are sticking around for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some nice juicy announcements will make their way into your ear holes.
Yeah, we are branching out. We are trying to get some more interviews going with some scientists and researchers. So we'll be looking at doing that soon, and that's gonna be some quite exciting times. We'll also maybe look at doing some giveaways of some scientific books for our listeners. So stay tuned to know how to get involved with those.
Yeah, and we'll have a lot more information on these kind of things next week as well. So make sure you definitely tune in, and we won't be teasing you as much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. All right, well, have you got anything else to add, mate?
No, that is it for me. All my research has been explored.
All right, well, thank you very much for joining me once again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been good, and I guess if you want to check out all the latest goings on, you can head to conductscience.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter by searching @conductscience. If you want to get in touch, tell us your conspiracy theories. Is the Queen a lizard, or did the world end in 2012? Please use the hashtag #ConductScience. But until next week, keep your tinfoil hats on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a goodbye from me.
Yep, and I'll catch you guys later.
And we'll see you guys next time.
The only thing you really know is what you can put into words.
The common language of science.
It's awe-inspiring stuff.